Hey out there, music fans, it's time for part 2 of this series where I go over my top 100 favorite albums. As we keep going down the list, this is going to become more and more challenging because these albums are so fucking good that I could make an entire video about each one of them, but I have to breeze right by them and go through the list as fast as possible, so I'm not even going to waste any more time. You know the drill. Let's fucking talk about some great albums. This is number 75 through 51. At 75, we've got Joni Mitchell with Miles of Aisles. This is, I think, one of the only live albums on the entire list, but I think it's definitely worthy of all the accolades it's received over the years. This is one of the best folk albums ever released. Joni Mitchell is an absolute icon, killing it to this day. And I like Judy Collins, and I especially like Joan Baez. I was thinking about putting a Joan Baez album on this list, but a lot of her albums consist partially of covers, and I felt like as far as albums go, especially like female-led folk singer type albums from the late 60s, early 70s, Miles of Aisles is where it's flipping at. I prefer Miles of Aisles to Blue and pretty much every other Joni Mitchell album, and this is such a fun listening experience all the way through. I remember listening to this on vinyl once, and it was a lot of fun. It just feels like you're there in the stadium with Joni Mitchell and she's going at it, and it's fucking fantastic. It has all her classics, all her big hits, and really, what more do you need in terms of a great, solid folk album that just perfectly captures those Joni Mitchell flippin' vibes. At 74, we have Smash Mouth with Astro Lounge. I've said it before, and I'll say it again, Smash Mouth is way more than just a meme band. They're a legit great band. I really like Smash Mouth. R.I.P. Steve, of course, that's a shame. Then again, it's not like Smash Mouth put out anything noteworthy recently, so... But that is a shame about Steve, man. You know, every competent celebrity is dying these days. Is left and right like flies. That said, I prefer Astro Lounge to Fush You Mang. I think Astro Lounge is actually the superior album, not just because it has All Star, the best Smash Mouth song ever, one of the best songs ever, but it's also got When the Morning Comes, which is this really fun, eclectic little 60s style rock fusion with the same kind of kicking organs that made Walkin' on the Sun such a treat, but in a whole new arrangement that flips you around. Do 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 do. And Smash Mouth is really good at capturing this sort of hazy, insomniac fervor, like you're just like walking down some palm tree lined avenue and you're all out of your depth and you're like, what the fuck is even going on here? And you can sympathize with Steve because in every one of the Smash Mouth music videos, he's sort of an everyman. He's very identifiable, relatable. You know, he's an all-star. He gets the shape of an L on his forehead. And seriously, if you haven't listened to Astro Lounge in full, go listen to fucking Astro Lounge. It's some of the best, like, 60s revival, Austin Power Chic type, late 90s stuff you can possibly hear. Alright, at 73, we got MF Doom with Mad Villainy. You might say, Mad Villainy, this low on the list? What the fuck are you thinking, Nick? Well, I do like me some Mad Villainy. I actually like a lot of other MF Doom songs that aren't on Mad Villainy quite a bit more. But as with the rule I set up at the beginning of this list, this is about albums that are good in one go, one listen front to back. And in terms of MF Doom albums, I can't recommend any album front to back more than Mad Villainy. I really like the Madlib production. I like MF Doom's bars. They aren't quite as wacky as on Food or some of the KMD stuff. I really like the KMD stuff. That shit is underrated. Like Hum Rush and stuff. But the highlights on MF Doom's Mad Villainy, you got Operation Lifesaver, you got All Caps, you got, what's it called? Shadows of Tomorrow. That shit's a banger. That shit's fantastic. The frickin' Sun Ra sample in there. And that's like all Madlib. And Madlib does a little rapping on here too. The reason it's so low on the list, lower than you might think, is just because as far as rappers go, I do think there are quite a few rap albums that do exceed Mad Villainy just in terms of like technique, pure bars, but that's not to say I don't think MF Doom's a master in his own right, but his style of rap is very unique and different I kind of have some more like staple type albums that we'll get into later. But as far as like experimental rap goes, MF Doom is undoubtedly the king of that, and this is a great album. Probably my favorite MF Doom album. I don't really like Food or Take Me to Your Leader as much, so you should just listen to Mad Villainy all the way through. Great entry point to MF Doom. If you've never heard an MF Doom album in full, you should start with Mad Villainy and then probably just go from there. At 72, we have Sublime, Robin the Hood. I actually listened to Robin the Hood before I listened to the main Sublime album, and I don't know if that was a mistake or not, but gosh dang, I like Robin the Hood more just because it has more of an experimental sound to it, a little more edge, and it feels like it calls back to a very specific place in time, because of course it does. Sublime was born out of very different and unique circumstances, and they have this bizarre sort of reggae dub influence that permeates all of their work. I think that's why What I've Got is like their big single, because it doesn't really have as much of that reggae dub stuff in it. Robin the Hood is great because it feels like this mysterious, weird fucking mixtape that was just born out of some vat somewhere or something. You got the interstitial bits from Theodore Sakers, and then you got like Cisco Kid, you got Steppin' Razor, which is a Neuromancer themed song. I really like that. And the vocals are so smooth. This is a very relaxing, fun album to pop on. It's energetic, but not to an ear-grating extent or anything. And you feel like Sublime is really going at it. I like this because it's before they really reached mainstream success. So it still feels very small scale and very like, not too ambitious or anything. It's just very simple reggae dub type material that this bunch of pals put together, and it holds up extremely well. This is a fun fucking album to listen to. Okay, at 71, we have Beck with Midnight Vultures. I've said it before and I'll say it again. Anyone who wants to get into experimental, fun, interesting music should pop on some Beck. I wouldn't say I take too much influence from Beck. I wouldn't want to rip his style or anything, but I like me a fucking Beck album, and Midnight Vultures is obviously a controversial album. Some people say it sucks. I have to say, if you hate Midnight Vultures, you just hate fun, because this is the funnest fucking album. Like, if this was a list of 100 fun albums, this would be number one, doubtlessly, because every single second of Midnight Vultures is just like a power hammer of fucking sparkles and lightning to your ears. Just like, do. This is the fucking album equivalent of like a fucking Saturday morning cartoon, or like a really sugary Trix-ass cereal, and just like how much boings and whizzes and shit Beck is able to stuff into this thing. Every single song hits completely. There's not a dull moment on this. But I do get why people prefer like Mellow Gold or Guero, because they do have more depth to them. Doubtlessly, Midnight Vultures has the least depth of any Beck album, but it is the last truly great Beck album. It feels like the end of an era before he enters his sellout phase and makes crap like Colors and Modern Guilt, which I'm not fond of at all. This is the last time that Beck like tried, it feels like, and what a way to go out of his classic era with just like, holy shit, Sex Laws, fucking Nicotine and Gravy, Peaches and Cream, Milk and Honey. I like that running theme of all the ampersand songs, Broken Train, frickin' Business with Heather, ending off with Deborah. What a song. Sex Laws to Deborah and everything in between. Midnight Vultures is where it's fucking at, and I can't imagine a more fun album even if I tried. This is one of the best produced, most conceptually interesting albums ever made, and it's no secret as to why Beck was fucking huge in the 90s, because this shit is fire. It's awesome. The genres are so mixed up and weird, it's a big soup of noise, but I fucking love it. And Midnight Vultures is a must listen if you want to make some weird fucking mashup, zany ass shit, because it's unparalleled. Okay, at 70, we got Captain Beefheart, Trout Mask Replica. It's kind of like Midnight Vultures, but I gotta give Trout Mask Replica the edge, just because more influential, obviously, and a bit more depth to it, although you're definitely going to get your fair share of wacky, goofy, insane shit on Trout Mask, but I had to put it at least as high as 70. Maybe a little lower, but 70 feels about right for Trout Mask Replica. Obviously, I don't need to go in depth on Trout Mask. It's well documented. It's one of the most covered to death albums of all time. But I'd be amiss not to put it here because it is one of the most influential albums ever made. Everyone has taken inspiration from it at some point in time. What Captain Beefheart is able to pull off here, where you have songs that sound like they're a complete mess, just like bonkers, nutty shit that nobody knows how to play an instrument, but it's actually really, really tight shit, and it'd actually be very difficult to figure this stuff out. There's like polyrhythms and shit, crazy music theory stuff that a lot of people have gone way, way into. This is one of those albums that people tend to obsess over, like Caretaker Everywhere at the End of Time. I'm not big into Caretaker Everywhere at the End of Time. That shit is boring and sad. But I like Trout Mask Replica because it really does deserve like all the analysis and thought that people have given it over the years. This is a fun fucking album, and an interesting album, and a very important album historically, so I can't not include it, obviously, on this list. At 69, we have Clipping with Splendor and Misery. There's no Death Grips on this list, and that's for a very good reason. In terms of experimental, wacky, interesting hip-hop of a modern slant, I actually prefer Clipping. I think Clipping's Splendor and Misery is their best work. The debut album's okay, but in terms of concept albums, in terms of albums that you can listen to from beginning to end, Splendor and Misery is a great fucking pick. This is one of the only sci-fi hip-hop albums I know of. There's another one later in this list, in fact. I really like whenever sci-fi infuses hip-hop, but Splendor and Misery is interesting in that, of course, it's the only hip-hop album ever to be nominated for a Hugo Award, because the story told on Splendor and Misery is so fucking interesting and so well thought out. There's really nothing like it in terms of sci-fi hip-hop. This is a very cool little concept album that explores the story of a slave in the future and an AI who manages to save him, and they're on like the ship together. And when I first heard the concept, I thought, this is kind of dumb. This sounds kind of cliche, kind of hackneyed. And then I listened to the actual music and I'm like, holy shit, the production on this is off the wall. Every song is so original and interesting and captivating, and it all ties together into such a cohesive, neat little narrative bundle. I'm like, this, even if the story isn't like the most original or anything, and there's a lot of elements that are in other sci-fi stories, it's really, really fucking well executed. You'd be hard-pressed to find a better executed sci-fi story in the past 10 years, let alone like just written out. It's really rare to see a sci-fi story in album form that's told with like this much conceptual depth. There's references to other sci-fi shit just sprinkled throughout, just little fun little Easter eggs just popped in. Tracks like Air 'Em Out, True Believer. The music videos for this is like fucking great. I don't even know how some of these shots are pulled off, or shit like levitating and shit. It's really cool. Like anti-gravity effects. And the universe that's painted within this album is just like really, really fun. So as far as sci-fi type hip-hop goes, I can't recommend Splendor and Misery enough. This is some good shit. And it feels like it's been forgotten in just a couple years, and that's a real shame, because this is some masterfully pulled off science fiction storytelling here. Highly commendable, highly good hip-hop, top-tier listens. And I think, call me crazy here, better than the Money Store or Government Plates or anything Death Grips ever put out. Sorry, Death Grips. At 68, we got Boards of Canada, Gia Gotti. This isn't my favorite Boards of Canada album. Spoiler warning, there is one more Boards of Canada in the list. You probably know which one. But Gia Gotti is my second favorite because it's the darker mirror side of Boards of Canada. It's them showing off their sort of twisted sensibilities. Julian Candy, 1969, the sampling on Gia Gotti. Holy fucking shit, it's amazing. Every second of this album, you're just on edge. You're like, oh my gosh, there's some fucking twisted shit hiding around here. Whereas with Boards of Canada's other work, they make numbers seem fun and approachable. Here they make math seem like this horrible archaic system that's like designed to kill you. And do you know that in Dandelion, that sample is actually Leslie Nielsen? It's actually Leslie Nielsen's voice talking about the fucking submarine. I bet you didn't, but it's true. That's from a documentary. That's just like how good Boards of Canada are at recontextualizing samples and turning them into something completely new. Like Giugotti has tons of fucking samples on it, but it feels like it doesn't have any samples on it. It just feels like this completely cohesive product that just appeared out of nowhere from some kind of electronic alchemy. And it perfectly captures the early electronic sound that Boards of Canada is known for, because they seriously dust off all the old fucking equipment for this thing. My favorite track is Dawn Chorus, because it's a nice little break from the more heavy plotting stuff, and it feels like a beautiful symphony of like sunrise with a darker tinge to it. It still has a slightly creepy bit with like the fucking sighing sample. But it feels more like a callback to the earlier stuff, and I like Dawn Chorus a lot. Every single song on Giugotti, though, perfectly arranged. All the tracks are so well listed with the mathematical precision and little numerical Easter eggs that Boards of Canada is known for. So much thought and time and precision went into Giugotti, so I'm going to put Giugotti on the fucking list. You're crazy if I don't put Giugotti on here. Okay, at 67, we got The Who with A Quick One. I could have put Who's Next or Tommy. Both of them are pretty good concept albums, but I don't really like how they abandoned the Lifehouse idea. I think that would have been fun. It really detracts quite a bit from Who's Next in terms of listening enjoyment. I like Tommy, but not too much besides Pinball Wizard is worth a listen. On the other hand, A Quick One is fun from front to back, and it's before they really entered their concept album stage, and it was back in the 60s during their peak as the new sensation. I like The Who more than the Beatles or Rolling Stones. They're a crazy good group, and I like A Quick One. I like My Name is Ivor, I'm an engine driver. There's so many catchy fucking hooks. Boris the Spider, obviously. Crazy influential track. That's the first recorded death metal grunting in music history. So The Who basically invented that. Next time some Beatles fan tells you about how Helter Skelter's the first metal song, which it isn't, Born to Be Wild by Steppenwolf is, just say, hey, did you know that The Who invented fucking, death metal growling way before that was a thing, and way before the Beatles fucking tried it? You're not going to hear a Beatles song with death metal growling. Great example of how experimental and out there The Who is able to be, while still making fun, jangly, epic, classic rock hits that the whole party can enjoy. This is the kind of music that would really pep up a room. Obviously, they played a quick one at Rolling Stones Rock and Roll Circus, and you can find that video online. That's like a fucking bop. They really go at it with the whole theatrical bit. This album feels very theatrical, especially the main song, A Quick One. It's very well structured. It does feel pretty quick, even though it's sort of long, and they really go at it with the tale of Ivor, the engine driver, and the estranged gal who's waiting for her guy. What a fun little story. What a fun little peppy tune. And I do prefer it to Tommy or Who's Next. Sorry, Tommy or Who's Next fans. I do like A Quick One. It's my favorite Who album. Okay, at 66, we got The Hives with Tyrannosaurus Hives. This is yet another later entry. I like The Hives because unlike the White Stripes or the Strokes or some of those more like technical rock purists of the 2000s who tried like really caring about like rock technique and stuff just to maintain relevancy, The Hives never felt like dated or anything because they're Swedish, and Swedish people are much easier to be like self-aware and kind of poke fun at themselves. That's why ABBA, even though like ABBA is very ridiculous in presentation and stuff, never feels overbearing or like phony. And the same goes for The Hives. They're basically the ABBA of rock. They recently came out with their new album, Death of Randy Fitzsimmons, which I thought was fucking awesome, but it is my second favorite. My first, the best Hives album, is definitely Tyrannosaurus Hives, in that I feel it's the point when the Hives really became the Hives. You feel like, oh man, they're in their tuxedos, they're jamming out with these stupid fucking riffs, and they're screaming about, and just being totally fucking ridiculous, cheesy and batshit and just all over the fucking place. Fantastic. Listen to Tyrannosaurus Hives. It's a great example of like later on rock music that is trying to maintain rock's relevancy. It's arguable as to whether the Hives ever succeeded in that goal, but you know, it's nice that they're still putting out music. They're a fun bunch, and more people should listen to the Hives. It's good shit. I do like the Hives. I am a confirmed Hives fan. I like them more in the Strokes. I like them more in White Stripes. I even like them more in the Darkness because they feel like an actual rock band that actually gives a shit. And their live performances are fucking legendary. You should watch their live performance on Howard Stern's show of Countdown to Shutdown. Fucking awesome. They know how to wow a crowd. But yeah, in terms of album experiences, you should listen to Tyrannosaurus Hives first. At 65, we got the Avalanches with Wildflower. This is my favorite Avalanches album. I know all the Since I Left You fans are going, what, Nick, you don't like that the best? But that's the first one, so it's the best one. I feel like Frontier Psychiatrist is an amazing example of sampling. It's a one-of-a-kind fucking lightning-in-a-bottle freak coincidence that all these random words and sounds just happen to mold together into something so perfect, but it feels like a novelty song. I like the Avalanches when they feel like an actual band that like actually exists. They pull weird samples out of weird places, but they're able to make a cool fucking song out of it. And with the new one, what's it called? We Will Always Love You. That one's fucking sad. It's just about like death and shit. And there's way too many features for me to consider it like a good Avalanches album. Too many features, not enough samples, too slick a production, way too slick a production. I feel like Wildflower hits that perfect fucking sweet spot. It feels like the result of over a decade of just trying to put something together. The concept originally, of course, was to make like a psychedelic cartoon, and that only survives in the music video for Subways. But Subways is great. It feels like a song. It feels like an actual song that could exist, theoretically, out of some weird fucking dimension portal. You got Because I'm Me with this fantastic vocal sample of this kid doing like a Michael Jackson impression, and it's fucking awesome. And then you got If I Was a Folk Star. That's amazing. And I really like the like late 60s psychedelic bent that the Avalanches take with this album. It's a great form of music that all too often goes completely ignored. And unlike some shit like King Gizzard and the Lizard Wizard, which doesn't sound jack shit like actual psychedelic music, this is an example of an Australian group actually like perfectly capturing the late 1960s Americana type vibes, psychedelic, you're cruising down, you know, fucking Easy Rider with Dennis Hopper and shit. It feels fantastic. It feels completely of that period because it's using samples from that period. It's legitimately invested in the time and the place and the amount of detail that's given to it. And of course, I couldn't mention Wildflower without bringing up the fantastic main single, frickin' Frankie Sinatra, with that awesome Calypso sample that just hits you completely out of the blue. Fucking Carnival Funhouse ride with the freaky yellow goop and frickin' Danny Brown and MF Doom. What a wonderful combination of things that mixes together into a really potent, epic fucking song. So yeah, this is the only Avalanches album on this list, but damn, I like Wildflower. It's my favorite. I don't like Since I Left You as much. I certainly don't like We Will Always Love You as much. Both great albums, but if you're gonna listen to the Avalanches, listen to fucking Wildflower. It's very, very good. Alright, at 64, we got the 13th Floor Elevators with the psychedelic sounds of the 13th Floor Elevators. A lot of these late 60s garage rock type bands were very one and done, like Count 5's Psychotic Reaction is one of the best psych rock songs ever made, but it's not on an album that carries that weight. That's not the case, however, with the 13th Floor Elevators. The Psychedelic Sounds of the 13th Floor Elevators is a great album, front to back, opening up on You're Gonna Miss Me, and just carrying on through with rough, cut shit. I like the 13th Floor Elevators and put them above Strawberry Alarm Clock because they feel a lot less commercialized. They feel much rougher, rawer, they go straight to your nerves and just inject it with fucking energy. And of course, they were the group that originally coined the term psychedelic rock. They pretty much invented that terminology, so I think it's worth putting them on here to give them their due credit. This is some good fucking psychedelic rock, great garage rock, and you won't have a boring time with the 13th floor elevators. They're gonna take you on a fucking Tower of Terror ride up to the top and then drop you straight down, and you're gonna be like, oh my gosh, what's going on here? Great fucking psych rock that everyone should listen to. Essential listening if you're into psych rock. If you say you're into psych rock and all you listen to is King Gizzard and Lizard Wizard, then you're a fucking loser. Pop on some 13th floor shit. That's where it's at. Okay, at 63, we have the Jay Giles Band with Freeze Frame. Yep, not Love Stinks. I'm putting Freeze Frame on here because Freeze Frame has Freeze Frame and Centerfold. I really like this album because it feels very artsy and different. Like Jay Giles in Love Stinks, during the Love Stinks era, has a very stereotypical kind of rock sound to it, and I could confuse it with some other music. During Freeze Frame, though, they go in a completely different direction. This is one of the most unique sounding albums I've ever heard. Can't be mistaken for anything else. The fucking doodaloo and fucking doo-doo-doo-doo-doo-doo-doo. It sounds like the DuckTales theme song, now that I think about it. A lot of these songs do, but the lead single, obviously, Freeze Frame. Great song about photography, very simple concept, executed really well with one of the most creative music videos I've ever seen, with all these negatives and dark room and shit, and they like pile on top of a fucking balloon, and then there's Mr. Potato Head and a really cute little stop motion sequence. And of course, Freeze Frame has Centerfold, another very well-known rock staple that really has that same kind of sound that Freeze Frame did. And some people accuse it of being a plagiarism or interpolation. I don't really care. And some people accuse it of being misogynist. But in terms of like songs about women that are sung by a guy, Centerfold is one of the most respectful, like reserved rock songs out there. It's just about this guy who finds out that his old crush is taking pictures for a nude mag, and he's just like, oh, okay. He just has like a very straightforward reaction. He's not even necessarily excited. He's just kind of surprised, and then he's like, oh, we'll have sex at a motel sometime, maybe. You know, that's a fucking calm demeanor for a rock star to take, and it's a very progressive song in that it accepts, you know, the modeling and sex work industries. I think it's fucking cute and charming, and I like how the Centerfold idea ties into Freeze Frame. You know, it's all about photography. Just like one song's a little more raunchy and the other song's a little more like just, you know, a basic bop, but I hate Centerfold. That shit's not misogynist. If you listen to as much rock and shit as I have, you know, some of that shit can be misogynist, but Jay Giles comes off as quite the reserved, polite gentleman in that song. I fucking like just the fucking hook. It's irresistible. You spinning and twirling to that shit. Na 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 na. So fucking catchy. Jay Giles is able to create just like the perfect fucking riff. Every single song on Freeze Frame is a bop, and you should listen to Freeze Frame. It is a good frickin' album. Essential listening for rock because it's very unique rock. It's a strain of rock that nobody else was able to make, and that should be commended. You're not gonna confuse Jay Giles with fucking Led Zeppelin or something. It's just not gonna happen. Very unique flavor of rock, like artsy, photography-centered rock. Good shit. Alright, no time for that though. We're going straight on to number 62, David Bowie with The Rise and Fall of Ziggy Stardust and the Spiders from Mars. David Bowie obviously reinvented himself many, many times over the course of his career. Lazarus, The Thin White Duke, Jarrett the Goblin King, so on and so forth. But my favorite persona that he reinvented himself into has to be Ziggy Stardust. It is a great album with stuff like Starman and just a really neat interpolation of like old 50s rock and roll sensibilities, which is something David Bowie was very good at doing on tracks like Let's Dance later on. But Ziggy Stardust is peak era Bowie, and you get such a neat feeling. You feel like you're hurtling through the cosmos. Ziggy Stardust at the controls, you know, jamming out in his fucking UFO. What a fun alien character. David Bowie knew how to bring some fucking sparkle and sheen to rock. And that's the shit that's missing from rock these days, like a cool-ass presentation where you go, wow, this shit's jamming, this shit's popping. And in terms of like 70s albums, in terms of 70s concept albums, you really can't go wrong with checking out The Adventures of Ziggy Stardust. What a fun fucking name, too. Spiders from Mars. Man, that's the kind of imagination that's just missing from the music industry these days, I figure. But yeah, this is a great sci-fi themed album, obviously. Great rock album. And my favorite David Bowie album. I prefer it over Aladdin Sane or Earthling or any of that. This is hands down a favorite. So check it out. You'll be glad you did. Alright, at number 61, we got Kool Keith with Dr. Octagon Ecologist. I've talked about Dr. Octagon before. He's one of those rappers that Eminem is too afraid to diss. This album is fan-fucking-tastic. It's not a sci-fi rap album, it's a horror rap album, and holy shit, Kool Keith fucking delivers. I like Dr. Octagon as a character, but just aside from the character, this album has some poppin' fucking production that I think even Kool Keith was never able to fully recapture in any of the Dr. Octagon sequels or on any of his Dr. Doom work, because, my gosh, Doc Octagon is such an iconic fucking character, and every second of this rap album, you're going to be quivering, but you're also going to be jamming out. You're going to be scared shitless, but you're also going to be bopping your head to all the sick beats that Kool Keith has whipped up. It's no surprise that Kool Keith is one of the coolest fucking underground hip-hop figures around. He totally fucking delivers on this. This is his magnum fucking opus right here, and it deserves every bit of clout that it's got. This is a scintillating listen. You're going to be amazed at the twisted wonderland that Keith is able to whip up as Dr. Octagon, menace from Jupiter, with the crazy medical procedures and the sick, twisted countenance. It's fantastic. Ooh, just sends shivers up my spine thinking about it. Okay, at number 60, for some reason I repeated Mr. Bungle, California, which I already mentioned in part 1. So I'm just going to bring up an album that I feel fits around number 60 and that I just thought of a few seconds ago and wish I had put on this list, but it's the first release by, I'm not going to say their name because someone would voice clip it and take it out of context, but it's the same unit that later became United Hip-Hopocracy, and you know what I'm talking about, the one that everyone compares to Death Grips. Such great cuts on here. I can definitely see why everyone says that this is a precursor to Death Grips, and it goes to show that as much as I like Death Grips, as much as I like the Money Store Government Plates, I'll say it again, I like Death Grips. Nothing wrong with the Death Grips track. They didn't really invent anything that wasn't already going on 20 years earlier, because everything on this album, it's like, wow, you were already doing this. This is better in many cases than a Death Grips song. I like frickin' CIA and Television, the Drug of the Nation. All these songs are like very cool, pertinent examinations of a given point in time. And the way that they're able to put these samples in, like frickin', the South African apartheid statistics, that's fucking interesting. That's an interesting thing to toss onto an album. I like that. It's an interesting look at the African American experience, hip-hop as a genre, an interesting examination of hip-hop as a genre, a deconstruction of hip-hop as a genre. It is some good fucking industrial hip-hop, and it shows that Death Grips did not invent industrial hip-hop. Contrary to popular belief, industrial hip-hop has been going as long as industrial rock. It's all tied into each other, and is a great example of an album that makes you re-examine what you thought you knew and go, oh, this was already happening. This already went on. Someone already invented this. I gave credit to the wrong people. Nothing against Death Grips, though, but it really doesn't stack up to this album. Like, this is the best industrial hip-hop album by a country mile. Better than Clipping, better than Death Grips, the best industrial hip-hop you're ever going to hear. Okay, at 59, going on to something a little lighter, we got Will Smith with Big Willie Style. Will Smith back in the day was the coolest fucking shit. I remember seeing the music video for Men in Black on the end of my VHS copy of Men in Black, and it was the coolest shit I'd ever seen. Will Smith popping out with the ha-ha, here come the Men in Black. And Big Willie Style doesn't just have that, it also has the classic Getting Jiggy With It. Na 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 woo ha ha. All the classic Will Smith intonations, the little hee-hees and ho-hos, and you got that fresh ass Prince delivery just going on, And I can't diss Will Smith. I fucking love Will Smith's rap songs. They're fantastic. He gives a totally new, fresh spin to hip hop that was missing. You know, here's some rap songs that aren't like freaking heavy and dark and stuff, and they aren't about, you know, like Snoop Dogg and Dr. Dre. Here's some rap songs that are just like fucking fun and wacky and just you know, fucking crowd pleaser. Like he says, he's got the flavor of a fucking crowd pleaser, and he's here to usher in the millennium. Well, not that quite yet. You know, this is still the 90s. This is ways before millennium. But this is when he really invents himself. He reinvents himself from the Fresh Prince and DJ Jazzy Jeff into the Will Smith we know today. The Big Willie. You know, Big Willie going at it. Going, na 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 na. I do wish Will Smith would make some more rap music. He was really fucking good at that. It was nice for a while to see, you know, a rap star who's also a movie star. That's fucking cool. A lot of rappers don't act very good. A lot of actors don't rap very good. Will Smith was this like perfect cross blend that was like cool in both situations and made you just go, oh my gosh, he's effortless. He's got that Big Willie fucking style. And this is such a fun album. I can't stop listening to this shit. This is like, oh my gosh, Will Smith. What a fun fucking jam. Just pop on some shit from Big Willie style. You're going to be grinning from ear to ear in no time and bopping along and grooving along. Will Smith, you can't go wrong with Big Willie style. Okay, at 58, we got Yellow with Solid Pleasure. Now, obviously, I went back and forth about which Yellow album to put on the list. I considered You Gotta Say Yes to Another Excess. I considered Flag. I even considered Toy for a little bit. You Gotta Say Yes is typically considered their best, but in terms of a complete album listen, because again, I'm only considering albums that don't have just one good song, I gotta say, a freaking Solid Pleasure. Yellow really came into existence as a completely formed outfit that knew what their sound was going to be right from the get-go, and they've kept going for, what, fucking 40 plus years at this point. But in terms of electronic music, they're virtually unmatched. And I can't name a more fun excursion with Boris and Dieter than frickin' Solid Pleasure. It has Boss Stitch, which is just this really sick, like fucking Charlie Chaplin-esque kind of beat, where he's like, standing at the machinery differ all my life. It calls back to, you know, fucking modern times. He plays a character that's very much like that in the music video. It's got that fantastic yellow type frickin' crystal stop motion shit going on. N'est-ce pas? I fucking love Boss Stitch, but there's so much more to Solid Pleasure than just Boss Stitch. This is the perfect introduction to Yellow's catalog. This is how you can get in there and know exactly what they're going for. He's like really boppy, but also like very melancholy at points, and there's so much vibe, there's so much background ambience to it, and it feels like this elegant experience, you know, because they're Swiss, so they got that Swiss time, and they got that Swiss Army gear type attitude. You know, they come from the land of clocks and chocolate, so they're ready to bring you a fucking precision engineered electronic banger. But yeah, Solid Pleasure is, I'd say, the best Yellow album to listen to front to back. It's very, very good shit. Perfect introduction to Yellow, one of the most unique electronic groups. They don't sound like anything else. Just two fucking Swiss buffoons going about on their wacky hijinks and shit. And they're still going to this day. It's fucking insane, because on their first album, they already looked like 50, and they just kept going. It's nuts how good these two wacky eccentrics are at putting together just fucking, oh my gosh, bops. Alright, at 57, we got Frank Zappa with We're Only In It For The Money. Had to put Zappa in here somewhere, and I like We're Only In It For The Money, because I think it's the best Mother's Invention record, aside from Zappa's solo stuff. And I like the cover art, I like the Beatles parody, I like how Frank Zappa takes a big shit on the Beatles. That always ups the points a bit in anyone's favor who does that, and they almost got sued for it. We're Only In It For The Money isn't just great because of its cover. It's a very influential album, much like Captain Beefheart's Trout Mask replica, in that you really feel like Frank Zappa is a demented mind that's taking you on a whirlwind adventure. He's going to show you the frickin' jars full of phlegm. He's going to show you the frickin' depraved universe that he's concocted out of nothing in the late psychedelic soundscape, and all the frickin' sonic experimentation on here. Like tracks will just cut out and join back in with some weird fucking shit. Songs last 30, 15 seconds, and then it just ushers into some new shit, and then one of the mothers of invention says something completely fucking random, completely derails the whole thing. Frank Zappa knew how to stuff as much fun and variety into a, basic ass vinyl release, which was the only way that music got released at that time. He knew how to stuff as much variety as possible into that thing. It's impossible to get bored listening to We're Only In It For The Money. And unlike a lot of his later stuff, which is just kind of boring jazz type stuff like Grand Wazoo, this is fucking when he's trying to really come up with his image and decide who he is. And I like Zappa more when he's less set into a groove. I like him more when he's all over the place and just kind of figuring himself out. And it is a journey of self-discovery, both for Zappa and for you, the listener, when you go on it. It's completely shocking, surprising, unlike anything else being released at that point in time. Wonderful comedy music, wonderful rock, just a fucking great record all around. Top tier shit. Okay, at number 56, we got CCR with Cosmo's Factory. Creedence Clearwater's undisputed masterpiece. At least I think so. This is my favorite Creedence Clearwater album. Also, late 60s type rock, but in a very different vein from Frank Zappa, obviously. I like the album with all the Creedence Clearwater guys all just biking and pedaling down at Cosmo's Factory. I like the frickin' font that's on the cover. This is essential listening if you want to know what the Creedence Clearwater hype was about back in the day. These guys were huge. Everyone thought they were the next big thing in rock. That didn't turn out to be the case, but they had a serious sound to them. It was going on. It was happening. They're like so rough and raw. And they're not actually from the South. That's a common misconception, obviously. Lynyrd Skynyrd later made fun of them kind of for it. But they're a bunch of phony Californians. They're as phony as it comes. They're, just full of shit. But damn if they don't capture the vibe. And I freaking like their rough cut, bearded, grizzly fucking rock. There are too many guys in rock these days with like a big grizzled beard, and they got tons of facial hair. I've noticed this. Every rock star these days want to have a big fucking beard, but they can't belt it out like Creedence Clearwater with the fucking ramble tamble and shit. They aren't getting to Creedence Clearwater levels of awesome sauce. So yeah, Cosmo's Factory is just a great fucking listen through and through. And it's the only Creedence Clearwater album I really have the temptation to listen to over and over again, because so many songs on here are just a complete pop. And you feel like, oh man, this is great workout music. That's probably why they're doing bikes on the front, like stationary bikes and gym shit, because it's good fucking workout music, I would assume. Or just great like driving music, flip the top back of fucking convertible, let the wind in your hair, and Creedence Clearwater going boom, doom, doom, and it's fucking awesome. I can't say much else about Cosmo's Factory. It's the essential Creedence Clearwater listen. Okay, at 55, we got The Art of Noise with Invisible Silence. This was an interesting toss-up between Who's Afraid of the Art of Noise and Invisible Silence, but I had to go with Invisible Silence because holy shit, the Peter Gunn theme reimagining featuring Dwayne Eddy. They got Dwayne Eddy on, legendary fucking guitarist, to re-record this track. And I have to say, I like the Art of Noise version better than the original, because it does so much with the composition that was just not present in the original, bringing out a whole new layer of depth. You feel like you're in this grimy, disgusting city, following the fucking Private Eye along on his investigations with the mysterious eye amulet. Such a creative fucking music video for that thing, the sort of one that the Art of Noise could only come up with. I like Moments in Love and Beatbox, but they do feel kind of boring. I'll say it. They feel like they're much less of a cohesive product. They feel like they're just kind of messing around with equipment, but this feels like a cohesive fucking product. Paranoia with Max Headroom feels like a song where you can go, oh my gosh, Max Headroom, he's one of the top 10 rappers that Eminem is too afraid to diss. He's going at it about his tea's made and his fucking hating tea, and he can't get to sleep. And you just feel so bad for Max Headroom, because it's like, why do you even need to sleep, Max? You're a fucking artificial intelligence robot. You don't need to sleep, you goofus. And then the fucking sample is, relax. What a wonderful sleepy time song. Absolutely soothing. There's something about the Art of Noise. I wish there were more electronic outfits like them that focus pretty much exclusively on the artistic aspect. That's a very accurate name for them. So fucking artsy, so fucking out there and wacky, and they treat the soundboard like a fucking canvas. They treat all their electronic equipment like a paint and like utensils, and it's insane what they're able to come up with. But yeah, Invisible Silence is essential listening if you're into electronic music. I would also recommend Who's Afraid of the RF Noise. Good album with some staples, but if you want like really, really fun fucking electronic shit that there's nothing else like it out there, listen to Paranoia. Listen to Peter Gunn Theme featuring Dwayne Eddy. What other electronic band, I ask of you, would take the theme song to an old 60s Private Eye type show and turn it into the smash hit sensation that it became? Art of Noise, that's who. Nobody else was doing this out-of-the-box type shit. Okay, just 4 albums to go in this part, and then we're on the home stretch. At 54, we have The Homecoming with UFO Symphonies. This is an insanely underrated album. I found out about The Homecoming a couple years ago, and I've been hooked ever fucking since. This is a very mysterious project. Nobody knows who exactly The Homecoming are, but they are some of the most captivating, interesting, ambient, electronic type music I have heard as of recent. And I love the vibes that this album in particular conjures up. I like TV memories, and I like music for funeral homes, but in terms of amazing sounds, I have to give it to UFO Symphonies. This feels like you're being abducted. It feels like the aliens are holding a plasma torch over your abdomen and they're about to suck all your organs out. It feels like you're standing in the middle of a wide open field in rural Nevada and you're looking up into the bright glowing cylinder above you and you're just going, wow, the mystery and awe of the universe. And it's rare that an ambient project is able to do that. I'm pretty sure this is like the only ambient or ambient adjacent type music on this list, because most ambient music I find fucking boring and totally stripped down and there's no substance to it. But with The Homecoming, I feel like there's so much substance, there's so much intent, and I have to give The Homecoming credit here. They're able to create something truly unique out of all like the small scale independent groups that I found out about via the internet. This is some of the best shit I've ever heard, and I can't wait for more. They recently came out with a new album, so it's not done. There's going to be more Homecoming on the way, and I can only hope that their samples stay as inventive, their fucking, just groove keeps on going. It's fantastic. I can't even name anyone else who's trying anything in this ballpark these days. It's really, really fucking good. Okay, at 53, we have Negativland with Negativland. Their debut, initial album. Nothing much to say here. You can't go wrong with a little Negativland from time to time. It is a fun bunch. They know exactly what's up. Their heads are tuned in and tuned out, and they're just going all kinds of crazy ways. This feels like a very irreverent electronic project. That's what I describe it as. Purely irreverent. It feels like an exercise in the middle finger. This feels like Negativland is constantly flipping you off and going, you didn't think we could do this. Well, we can do this. And it doesn't feel immature or anything. There's so much technique and thought and care poured into this project that it's like, you can't dislike them. They're clearly doing stuff that nobody else is even willing to attempt. They're going into territory that nobody else even remotely thought of, and you have to respect their zany antics on that basis alone. Negativland's debut album, all their stuff really is worth listening, but their debut album in particular, top tier shit that will constantly leave you guessing. You'll be like, what are the Negativland bunch gonna pull next? And then you just go in some completely wacky direction, and it's great. I'd compare Negativland to the Residents in that regard. Maybe a little more like cut back and a little more like sharp in terms of their approach. They're not as like sentimental as the Residents tend to be. They're like, freaking eyes on the prize. They don't fuck around. They're like the James Bond Residents. There's a good way to kind of describe them for you. Okay, at 52, we have a staple, Blue Oyster Cult with Agents of Fortune. My favorite Blue Oyster Cult album. I like this one more than Secret Treaties, more than that new one they put out recently, The Symbol. I like Agents of Fortune, not just because it has Don't Fear the Reaper, but because it has extraterrestrial intelligence, ETI. Holy shit, what a bop. I am amazed that ETI didn't become Blue Oyster Cult's big hit. It was Don't Fear the Reaper. Because Don't Fear the Reaper, I fucking love that track, and it's got as much cowbell as you could ask for any track to get, but I think ETI is good fucking rock music, and to think that more people only know Blue Oyster Cult for Don't Fear the Reaper is patently insane, because they have so many good fucking songs. Of course, I really like Blue Oyster Cult for their mythology. They're the most intricately arranged rock band. All you fucking Beatles fans out there, all you pawns who think that, oh, there's subliminal messages on every fucking Beatles cover. Wait until you get into fucking Blue Oyster Cult. Like the artist who drew the first two Blue Oyster Cult album covers, nobody even knows who this guy fucking is. He's a complete enigma. And the Blue Oyster Cult mythology is so precise. It's like every single line in every single song is a reference to something, some arcane or esoteric knowledge. It's fucking amazing. The Blue Oyster Cult symbol is like a callback to an earlier symbol that is like in some fucking esoteric fucking magical shit. I love this shit. It's just full of Easter eggs and codes. It's the perfect album for someone with autism, because you're just going to pick this apart like endlessly. You're just going to be like, what does Sandy Pearlman mean? Extraterrestrial intelligence, aside from just being a great fucking bop, it's like Balthazar and he's found the saucer news and shit. And you got that one, what's it called? The Revenge of Vera Gemini or whatever. That's probably not the exact title, but it's got the like vocal sample from the female singer at the beginning. It's like, he's found the snake or whatever. Damn. No other rock album from the 70s even tried shit like this. Blue Oyster Cult's fucking underrated. That's what I mean when I say, like, you shouldn't just pay attention to the British rock shit, because American rock shit was doing way cooler shit, because, you know, rock is an American genre. It's inherently American. And I like to say that, but and point out as often as possible, British people aped rock. It's an American invention. But what Blue Oyster Cult were able to do in terms of crafting a unique American mythos that holds strong across multiple albums and like it all feeds into each other. They are the X-Files of music, and they are a fantastic group to listen to. Any of their albums are great to listen to in full, but in terms of just like the classic shit and the shit that you know and the shit that's a bop, try Agents of Fortune. Don't just listen to Don't Fear the Reaper. Listen to all of it. Check it out. Give it a whirl. It's fucking awesome. 3 Men in Black said, don't report this. Do. And the fucking riffs kick in. Oh my gosh. I'm just, fucking pounding out. It feels like you're just uncovering these diabolical documents in this sick underground government lair. You've breached past the fence at Area 51 and you've gone all the way up to Area 52, and the surprises just keep on hitting you hard and fast. Blue Oyster Cult is truly unparalleled. Great fucking rock band, and way more than just Don't Fear the Reaper. So look them the fuck up. You will not be disappointed. If you've never listened to more than Agents of Fortune or just Don't Fear the Reaper, man, you're in for a surprise. Okay, finally, at number 51, we have Prince with the Batman soundtrack. I've said it before and I'll say it again, Michael Keaton is the definitive fucking Batman, Jack Nicholson's the definitive fucking Joker, Heath Ledger sucks ass, and you'll have a hard time convincing any Batman 89 fan otherwise. Of course, Batman 89 was originally just called Batman. The title 89 was applied to it retroactively because people would be like, oh, do you mean The Dark Knight? No, I don't mean The Dark Knight. I mean Batman. Tim Burton's Batman. The definitive fucking Batman movie that understands Batman, strikes the perfect balance between outrageous and grounded. And part of that, of course, is the fucking Prince soundtrack. This is, I think, the only movie soundtrack on the list, and I just had to include it because Batman 89 was always in my heavy watching rotation when I was younger, and I played it obsessively on VHS, and I always fucking love the scene where Joker gets in the museum and he's like, let's broaden our minds. Lawrence, that was a formative fucking moment for me. And the fucking Party Man by Prince starts up, and I was always fascinated by that, and that's how I first got into Prince. But there's so much more to the Batman soundtrack than just Party Man. There is trust, There's Bat Dance. There's Electric Chair. Electric Chair isn't even in the movie. It never even shows up, but it's fucking amazing. Because it displays the kind of compositional prowess, the sort of rock and roll fucking intricacy that Prince was on when he made this. If a man is considered guilty for what goes on in his mind, then give me the electric chair for all my future crimes, Lord. And the fact that, like, part of the bar spills into the next beat or whatever, I don't know any music theory terminology, but, like, how those lyrics are delivered, it's so fucking unique. And it's like G major with an E in the face or whatever. And, you know, nobody else references the notes of their songs in the song itself, but Prince fucking does. Electric Chair is fucking awesome. Some great rock and roll funk-ass fusion that just hits up. Party Man. Holy shit, what a bop. I can't stop playing that thing. I can't get enough of it. It's perfect. It's immaculate. It's flawless. What's really interesting about Prince songs is, unlike Michael Jackson, where it's pop music with like a really easy, catchy hook and riff where you can just go, Billie Jean is not my lover. Prince songs are like catchy when you're listening to them, but they're so complex and intricate that once it stops, you've completely forgotten what the song even sounds like. Like, I can't sing Party Man, but it's a great fucking song. But Prince is like such a maestro, such a multi-instrumentalist genius, that he's able to make these songs that are catchy when you're listening to them, and then you can't remember them at all, because they're like anti-pop that's designed not to be catchy if you're not listening to it, and not to have any particular hook. Like, that's why nobody can effectively cover Prince, because he's legitimately irreplaceable in terms of like being a vocalist, guitarist, everything. And then you got that bit on Bat Dance. Bat Dance is great. It's like a full-on zany sampling fest with just like tons of quotes from the movie and shit. But when Prince goes, doo-doo-doo-doo-doo, hey Jackie, let me stick that 7-inch in the computer. That's such a fun little delivery there that Prince has got. Every second of this is just like pure gold, though. And it just goes to show that it's like lightning in a bottle, the perfect storm. Tim Burton directed, Jack Nicholson the fucking Joker, Prince on the soundtrack. Yeah, tell me the next time that like fucking Black Widow from Marvel or whatever the fuck has a soundtrack by like Bjork or something interesting like that. Nah, just fucking stock music, all this violin shit. Superhero movies never before and never again had a soundtrack as good as the fucking Prince soundtrack that he did for Batman. And what's especially crazy is barely anyone even acknowledges it. Barely anyone would ever put this album in their top 100 albums of all time. This shit is fire. Some of the best rock and roll ever made, some of the best funk ever made. And it's all about Batman. What more the fuck do you need? It's amazing. It's fucking incredible. So yeah, I'm pretty happy at putting Prince Batman soundtrack right here at the halfway point. This is a great album to listen to, and you should do it immediately after clicking off this video. Look it up, give it a whirl. And also look up the unreleased track, Dance with the Devil. That just goes to show, like, holy shit, Prince had, you know, way more hidden shit that he wasn't willing to release, but it's fucking amazing. I'm amazed at how it sounds. Good shit. Props to you, Gemini. Okay, well, it's that time of the video again. We've reached the end of part 2 of my top 100 favorite albums of all time. This is shaping up to be quite the flippin' list here. Next time, we're going to be going down 50 through 26, so stay tuned. These are just going to get better and frickin' better as we go on. I'm going to have more and more to stuff and say about them, so I have to really rush through them. But rest assured, I'm just trying to give you as many bops as possible, because you deserve it, you know? You deserve good music to listen to. And a lot of people don't know about a lot of this music, so I feel it's my duty as a competent connoisseur of music, an enjoyer, a tastemaker as it were, to share with you my knowledge of these top tunes. Anywho, that's it for this video. Hope you enjoyed. Leave your thoughts down in the comments. And sayonara, suckers.